Hello fakers and rule breakers, my name is Joseph Moore and you're watching The Jalden Show. You may have noticed that a couple weeks back I didn't post a video. This was because I was in the company of family and jumping off cliffs. This means, in fact, that I have broken one of my own rules, but I have come to a realization. You see, rules don't mean anything unless we give them meaning. And since I am in sole control of my channel, I can choose to break any rule I want without consequence. And when you think about it, rules are actually meant to be changed, stretched, bent, or broken. They are put in place to keep you from achieving your full potential. As Randy Powell said in his last lecture, the brick walls are there to keep the other people out. If you don't believe me on this point, let's take a look at a game. In Monopoly, you have to pay the rent on the car posted when you land on the spot of when someone else owns that property. If this rule were in place, then the landowner could charge whatever he wanted for that property. He could charge $5,000 and instantly bankrupt the other person. Now you may be able to see the hole in this rule. For it to work, it needs to be agreed upon. Everybody else playing would immediately quit whenever someone did this, leaving a very lonely winner. For a rule, or a lack of rule to work, it needs to be agreed on by everyone involved in the community. Don't take the argument that I'm making right now as rules are completely unnecessary. They definitely are. For both the reasons that they create a framework for you to work with and they create obstacles that require creative thinking to work around. So back to my original point. This channel has rules so I can creatively construct videos and so you can enjoy it. But rules can change if everyone involved agrees that they should. And wait a minute. I think I may have just dug my own hole here. Punishment video next week. But here is where my entire argument about rules was going to. There exists a game called Nomic, in which the very premise of the game is to change the rules. I'm not going to delve into the details and intricacies of the game, but if you want to check it out, I'll put a link down in the doobly-doo. Alright, so Nomic. The game basically provides a structure for you to change its own rules. Every turn, a player needs to propose a new rule and it's voted on by the community. These changes to the rules can involve anything. They could be a removal of an existing rule, it could be an amendment of a rule or a changing of a rule that exists, or it could be a completely new rule that doesn't fall somewhere within the initial set. You should also know that there are two sets of rules that you start out with. There are mutable rules, which can change by a new rule over replacing it or calling it away. And there are immutable rules which are not allowed to be changed by any sort of new rule that way. But initially, every single rule of the game can be changed. The immutable rules can be what's called transmuted down into mutable rules which can then be changed. And just to make sure everyone is playing by the rules that are in place, a judge is elected or set in the beginning of the game to keep track of all the rules and make sure that every action taken by the other players follows what the rules say. After this, the game is really up to the players because they are the ones that define the ending and the middle and the whole meat and potatoes of the game. This is an interesting game because the concept is really meta. And what I mean by that is that it's a game in which the goal is to create a game for yourself. So this means that the players who are best able to manipulate the game structure and argue it in their own advantage are probably going to be the ones that are going to win. In this way, Nomic is a bit like life, which has actually been called a game in which we make our own rules while searching for something to say. Monty Python. And this is true. In Nomic, you have to set your own goals and define your own meaning of success. Nomic is also an interesting way of looking at political structures, which are basically a number of groups working within a system to change the system for their own benefit. If I had to define Nomic in a sentence, it would be, Nomic is a game where the goal is to do everything you can to work towards your own self-interest, while also being forced to work with other people who have that same goal. This definition actually defines almost every game, society, political structure, and natural selection. Rules are important, I will admit that. They provide a structure where none would exist. Without bones, your body would just be a blob on the ground, and without rules, society would be chaos. I don't want my channel to turn into chaos, so alright, I'll follow the rules. Punishment video next week, and hopefully along with that, a set of newer rules that I find easier to work with. Peace.